Hi, I'm Alex from Northwest First Aid. Today I'll be talking about tourniquets. So it's a topic that people do like talking about in class, and they find it very intriguing to know how a tourniquet works. So basically I'm just going to go over what a tourniquet is and when we use it, and basically what it does to the body. So a tourniquet is a device that's used to stop blood flow. Okay, so basically probably all seen it in movies where someone's hurt themselves and they wrap a piece of material around their arm to stop the bleeding. Well, that's essentially a tourniquet. So only a few times when you can use a tourniquet, don't use it just because you feel like it. Okay, tourniquets are used if it's your last resort. Okay, so for example, if someone's lost a limb, okay, it could be an arm or a leg, and there's severe bleeding happening because their arteries have been exposed and other major blood vessels, and we need to use a tourniquet on that. Okay, we don't use it just for every severe bleed. Okay, someone's got a big gash in their arm and blood's coming out, then the first thing we're going to do is a conventional method, okay, or direct pressure method. And if all else fails and your casualty is deteriorating and probably going to shock, then we're going to use a tourniquet to help save their life. So before I get into that bit, I've got to distinguish what type of bleeding is what. So if someone's got a severe bleed and they need to use a tourniquet, okay, then they've basically hit their artery. Okay, so arteries are major blood vessels in our body. They're full of oxygen and they work under high pressure. So it's a high pressure system that carries blood around the body and circulates oxygen. So the blood's going to be brighter in colour, and it is going to be, as I said, under high pressure. So someone hits an artery, so someone cuts their arm and they've hit their artery in their arm. Every time that person's heart beats, blood's going to be spurting with the heartbeat. So it will squirt out a bit because it is under high pressure and it's bright in colour. So it's just an example there. Okay, the shades might be a little bit off, okay, but it's just to give you an example that, for example, that is a nice bright red. Okay, so someone's got an injury and blood's squirting out and it is that colour. Okay, it's nice and bright, then you know they've hit an artery, and that's a severe bleed. Okay, now on the other hand, if blood's coming out quite quick but not spurting out all over the place and it's darker in colour, that's what we call venous blood. So this is blood going back to your heart to go back to the lungs to get oxygen. Okay, so it's going to be darker in colour there. So either way, it's still a bleed and it's still quite major, but your arterial bleed is your priority. Okay, so you have to identify that as quick as you can. So there's a difference there. Okay, you got your bright red, which will be your arterial bleed, and your darker red, which is your venous bleed. So when we apply a tourniquet, now a tourniquet, they can be bought. You can buy them and keep them in your first aid kit, but you can also make them out of any type of material as well. So you could use a belt. You could use the cord on a surfboard, for example. You could use a sling as well in a first aid kit. You could use some sort of clothing, anything to wrap around and put pressure on someone's limb. So when we apply a tourniquet, what we are trying to do is apply pressure and squash the artery. And that's what we're trying to really achieve there. When you stop that arterial flow and excessive bleeding, then that person will have a better chance of survival. So just give you a bit of an example there. If we're going to pretend that this is someone's artery, it's been severed, okay, then what our goal is with a tourniquet, you're going to try to picture skin and fat around here as well, so you've got a few more layers. But essentially, as you wrap your tourniquet around someone, what we're trying to do is squash that together. Okay, so this is the artery on the inside of the body, and as you apply your tourniquet, you're gently applying pressure and you're squashing it off. Okay, and then blood's not coming out here. Probably a better example, a roll of paper towel. So this is your artery on the inside. Okay, you've got a few layers around it as well. If you just picture that these layers here is skin and fat. Okay, it's all your soft tissue there. So as you're applying the tourniquet and you keep tightening it up, okay, it's going to start squashing it in like that. And you can see the tube on the inside getting smaller and smaller, okay, until you've squashed it off, and now no more blood's coming out. So when we do apply a tourniquet, we do have to position it properly as well. So we've got to make sure that we don't put on any bony structures like elbows or knees. So I'll give you a bit of an example of how to apply one. So if you only had a sling or a piece of material, okay, then you do just want to wrap it around that person's limb. So for example, this situation here, somebody has lost their leg. Okay, it's below the knee, it has come off. And what we need to do is apply pressure immediately and get a tourniquet on there. So we're going to avoid putting it on the knee. Okay, if I pop it on the knee there and I squash down, I can't achieve stopping that blood vessel from bleeding. Okay, remember that artery, we have to squash it. It's not going to work if you do it on bone. So go several centimetres up, above the thigh, into the thigh area here, above the knee. Okay, and we're going to tie it off, make it really tight. Okay, make it super tight there. And just make another loop there, like that. Okay, but we don't tie this one off just yet. We're going to put something in there. So I've got a pen in my hand now, but you could find a stick, could be a screwdriver, could be absolutely anything lying around. But pop it in there. Okay, just don't forget to improvise. Tie it off and keep turning it around. Okay, so as you can see, I'm turning. Okay, it's getting really tight now. Probably hear it as well. But the tighter I go here, okay, the more it's going to constrict my artery. Okay, so that's what's happening there. Okay, as I'm tightening that up, that's getting squashed. And that's what I want to achieve. Now, as I'm tightening it, you keep tightening until no more blood comes out of that limb there. Okay, once the blood's come down to a state where you can manage it, okay, it's completely stopped or trickling out, your tourniquet has worked. Okay, and then you can still apply direct pressure on the other end. Now, once you do apply it, we'll leave it on there and keep track of the time. So maybe you can write it on the bandage or keep it in your mind when you applied it, so you can pass this information on to the paramedics and they can pass it on to the doctors. Okay, well I hope that was okay for you there. Maybe you've learnt something. If you could please give us a like and share us around on YouTube and just spread the word out there, and I'll catch you next time.